Welcome back to Men and Motors, and today you join me in the Isle of Skye, but more specifically with the all-new BMW M7. This particular model is the M760e, meaning it's a hybrid with a 3-litre petrol engine in the front. Somewhere on the car there's some batteries which give you around 30-mile range, but on a full tank you'll probably get between 500 and 600 miles depending how easy you are on this foot. The car, in my opinion, is absolutely gorgeous. It's stunning. Now I know a lot of people beg to differ on that, so let us know what you think in the comments. The mouth of this I think is beautiful. You've got the huge iconic BMW grills here with a nice little M badge, and I really do dig these split tone lights. Now if you cover that up and just look at it that way, I think you might find it a little bit easier to look at, but I personally quite like these, and the very, very high-tech lights with all added options and high beam assist, which I'll get into further on in this video. Moving round to the other side, we do have 21-inch wheels as standard. They are huge, they've got some big chunky tyres on, and they do not give a lot of road noise, and more to the point, they just look the bollocks, if I'm allowed to say that. Beep might be needed. You also get the typical BMW M style wing mirrors with a nice little flick in towards the car, just giving it that aggressive look. You can adjust the ride height up and down. Currently it's in the high mode because the weather has been quite tragic up here, but all in all, I think it's a stunning car. I should also tell you this colour as well. You'll notice it's matte and doesn't have a shine. It's frozen pure grey, which is an optional extra, but I think especially when it's an M car or BMW alone, it pulls the colour off really, really well. This car isn't shy of power at all. It's 560 brake horsepower with 590, give or take, foot-pounds of torque. And I can tell you, it's so much power it rumbles and rockets forward, and it actually sounds more like a V8 rather than a straight 6. You'll see more of that later on in this video when we get it out on the roads, because we need to give it a bit of time for this snow to disappear so we can actually put our foot to the floor. Now, one grandad statistic we always seem to favour on Men and Motors and any car review in general is something I actually quite hate talking about, but we'll do it. We need to know how big the booty is on this thing, just for your storage of goods and for your long distance road trips. I'm probably going to end up climbing in it again because that's what I tend to do in all these reviews, but it is quite large. In the combustion engine models, it's 540 litres, but in the plug-in hybrid models, which is exactly what this is, it shrinks to 525, albeit it is very, very big. And for a saloon, you've got plenty of room to wedge yourself in, or quite frankly, if you want to kidnap somebody, which we don't advise, you can fully get in. Why do I do this in every review? I really don't know, but it's the only way I can seem to demonstrate efficiently how big a boot is when I'm 6'4" and around 16 stone. Anyway, you're probably wondering, how much does this car cost? Well, you need to brace yourself for this. In fact, I need to brace myself that much. I'm going to get out the boot and I'll tell you right back round at the front of the car. This specific model is £143,000. Now I know that sounds ludicrous, but believe me, it is well worth the money, having lived with this thing for a week and covered around 1,500 miles in it. Now this model does start at 120,000, but this specific beautiful one that we've got has £23,000 worth of options on it, and you'll see more of them inside the car because there's something in the back which I think is absolutely amazing. Some people may think it's a gimmick, but it definitely caters for the passenger rather than the driver, which is something so great about this car, and it's something that BMW have really focused on. They want it to drive well, they want it to ride well, and they want people to be comfortable in the process. And when you want to put your foot down, you want it to feel stiff and agile, and that is exactly what this M760 does. The quality inside this car is absolutely fantastic. You get this massive, huge LED screen that is so crisp and clear. It's quite amazing. To say that, the car is absolutely littered with cameras. They're everywhere. There's too many to count. But it has this lovely animation where when you've got the 360-degree view of the car on top, you can press the camera just to the left of it and it will mimic you looking down the side of the rear quarter of the car. And even when you turn the wheels turn on the animation as well. And it isn't just a standard 7 Series that's on there, it's actually an M7 that's on the animation. So you can flick through around there and transfer around the car to see the different views. There's nothing worse when there's salt on the roads and the cameras get absolutely caked in rubbish and dirt and stops you seeing through them. But if you press more and go to camera cleaning and you press front and rear, it squirts soapy water over the lenses of the camera and everything becomes clear again. I think that is fantastic, and the image now looks like it's 4K. Now, with this car being rather luxurious, you get these little crystals dotted all over the car, which do feel very, very expensive. I'm not going to lie, I'm quite scared of scratching them. However, the one to navigate the infotainment screen comes with a really nice click and a clunk. It feels lovely, and when you press it, just the click. It just sounds and feels really expensive. With that said, the drive select also is a crystal, and even the volume up and the volume down button is like crystallized. One slight little criticism, or one little niggle I found with the volume button is it is quite slippy on your fingers. So when you're driving and you're trying to turn the volume up and down, with a sudden bump, you find yourself muting the music rather than actually turning it up or down. Whilst on the subject of sound system, this car has got the Bowers & Wilkins one, and it sounds amazing. It even comes with 10.1 surround sound in the rear of the car. You get these lovely metal, and they are real metal, like brushed stainless grates over the speakers, and you can actually see them at night illuminate behind, and it does look really nice. One thing that BMW have really focused on with this car is making speakers, vents, making them as subtle as possible, and they don't really draw your eye towards it. The vents in the front of the car, they actually just don't exist. You get lovely crisp lines, and you've got a tiny, tiny little joystick, which I didn't even realise was there until after a couple of days of driving, to turn the way the air flows in and around the car. It has a head-up display in front of you, which you can configure on the steering wheel and change it, and it is very clear. A lot of these are pretty naff, and in this car, it really isn't. You get auto-dimming mirrors all round, including the rear view mirror. You've got memory electric seats in the car, and you can adjust it by these crystals on the side here, and you can set the position, or alternatively, you can press a little button here, which brings up the seat menu on the screen, and you can configure it even more. I would have preferred to be able to control the seat fully from this button, especially while driving, because you do sometimes want to adjust it. Even the steering wheel is electronic by pressing the buttons below. One other added touch, which I think is a little bit quirky, is even the glove box is electronic. If you press this button here, it opens. You've got absolutely everything. You can even set the comfort exit zone for when you park the car up and you stop, how far you want the seat to adjust and how high you want it to rise to get in and out. If getting in and out of the car can be a bit of a problem for people and you've got stiff joints, or you just like to step out rather than climb out, you can press a button down here, which if I press it now, the car will slowly rise the position because it is on air suspension, and it'll go up to a higher drive mode. However, once you set off, that does drop unless you reselect it again if you're going over a bit of bumpy terrain. In most BMW M cars, carbon fibre is absolutely everywhere, and it can come a little bit tacky, and I have seen photos of carbon fibre in this car and it doesn't pull it off too great. However, there is this lovely grey wood, and if I just get the options list, I believe the correct name for this is, if I can read it, fine wood oak mirror finish. It's actually called fine wood, no way. And you can just tell that every part of this car is pretty to look at. You've got lovely premium levers on the dashboard, all on the door cards here. And one added benefit which we found whilst driving, which I think is magnificent, is when you put the heated seat on, the armrest in the door is also heated. The only thing is the center console armrest isn't heated. It's not too much of a problem, but I just found it was a nice touch. I found my arm was getting rather hot this morning. Heated steering wheel, air conditioned seats, heated seats, and then BMW have tried to really get rid of buttons in this car, which can be quite a bugbear. to the point where when you're driving and you're trying to use a touch screen and you're bouncing on the road, it can become quite difficult. However, with that said, the buttons on the steering wheel do actually come with a click. They are buttons, you just can't really feel for them without looking at them to see what they are. Rather than having those mechanical clicky sliders to close the vents and open the vents, you have a touch button which goes off the heat of your finger and you just drag it and slide it, and there's a lovely little green LED that navigates left to right to tell you what position the air vent is in. This car has got an Alcantara headline inspect which costs £1,050. Now, if I was buying a car like this that costs 143 grand, would I spec it? I probably would, because I can't see an extra £1,000 causing me too much of a problems. Do I think it's worth an extra £1,000? Probably not, but it is very, very pretty. It's also got the Sky Lounge roof. Now, that's just a panoramic roof. It doesn't open, but it is absolutely massive compared to most cars, and it has these lovely little lines in them, which I believe are heat lines to keep it heated and stop it freezing. But at night, which I'll try and overlay a picture if we've got one, the RGB lights down the side here project onto the glass and it makes the lines light up a different colour, and it just looks amazing when you're looking out through the roof and you've got these lovely pink, blue, green, orange, whatever colour you want on the sky. It doesn't look like stars, it just looks like runway lights, which I think is quite a nice touch. Now, you're probably wondering, what's it like in the back? Well, this is where things get a little bit special and a little bit magical. So I'll get out now, we'll get in the back, and you'll see how this car just transforms into an absolute powerful limousine. Getting into the back of this car is something rather magical. It's absolutely filled with space. It feels very airy, very light, mainly due to this panoramic roof. You've got a centre console that folds out here, and if you press a button, it comes out with two cup holders with a wireless charging pad at the front. Lift this up, more storage and two USB-C ports. Now, this isn't where this car really comes to life. This car has got something which is around a £10,000 optional extra, and it comes into play by swiping up on these little smartphone tablet things in the doors that basically just control all the car. They really are very cool. Now, if I just press this button here that says display and press fold down, all the blinds close in this car and you are greeted with this massive 30-odd inch 8K television where you can sit and watch Netflix, Amazon, whatever you want to watch, it's got it. So right now, let's press YouTube.
Hello folks, and welcome to Men and Motors. This is the Honda Civic 2-litre advanced hybrid petrol 2-wheel drive beast.
And there we have Jim. If this isn't enough for you, this seat is specifically good. So we can press seats here. This is the best seat in the house. And if I press recline, just watch this. That seat goes forward, which does take a while. That said, you can live with this for what's about to happen with this chair. It's absolutely amazing. Picture this, you're on the motorway, you've got a long journey, the blinds are closed, your chauffeur's sat in the front, that seat goes forward, and this seat is about to recline and make you lie down whilst you watch telly and relax on your journey. Now, the reality is, when buying a car like this, you're most probably going to buy it to be driven rather than drive it. So that's why I'm currently sat in the back now, to just experience exactly what it feels like with a chauffeur leading the way. Now picture this, it's dark on a Friday at roughly 7 p.m. Your chauffeur arrives with the automatic doors of the M7. He greets you inside the car. He's taking you to your favourite restaurant where you're about to order quack quack patar and rackabar bar, and you might swill that down with a glass of champagne. If you want to know what that is in English, that's duck pate, a rack of lamb and a glass of champagne. If I want to add something a bit better on here, I'll press seats again, I'll press massage, and I'm feeling like I'd like a full body massage. That's on. I'm sat here with my duck feather filled pillow. Oh, and I could just quite easily fall asleep. If this isn't luxury, I don't know what is. Anyway, I think it's about time we put this car on the road to hear what it sounds like and to see how quick it really is. The first thing I should say whilst driving this car is how comfortable and quiet it is. It's very smooth, there's minimal road noise, and that's mainly down to the sound deadening, quality of materials, and these double glazed windows right here. All the seats in this car have massage facility, and there is something that hits the spot about just casually cruising or forcing it through the bends whilst having your back kneaded like a piece of dough. It is very lovely. Now, you can press a button down here as your modes, and when you put it into sport mode, like this, the seat grips you, you feel it, you feel everything kick in and hold tight. You can drop a gear, and if you pull the lever back to drop it into Sport S mode, this makes the car completely manual once you flick the gears, and it will not interfere at all, to the point where you can miss a gear and it won't change. Most automatics don't allow you to do that. They'll automatically change when you hit the red line. It has a fantastic shift light, and all the ambient lighting just looks magnificent because it turns between red, blue and purple with the M buttons. But now, if I just plunge, there you go, see how This, honestly, is so fast. 560 horsepower, 590 foot-pounds of torque. It sounds amazing, and it absolutely rockets forward. I'm just gonna do it again once we get through this village, and you'll just see the way it launches you back in your chair. It sounds amazing, and you get that lovely DSG. I don't know why we call it a DSG fart, but basically a dual clutch transmission burp when you change the gear. It sounds amazing. There's a lovely little burble, and it does tend to crackle and pop a little bit when the engine gets rather warm. So let me get through this village where it's safe. One thing I should add as well, when it goes into sport mode, is the steering stiffens up, the suspension stiffens up and goes into that lower driving mode, and the seats just grip your sides, and it feels rather magnificent. However, if that's too aggressive for you, there's always the massage button on the dash. So if we just drop a gear, I've got to watch because it is quite icy. We're coming up to a 60. Ring gear 3, and if we go 3, 2, 1. Oh, God. It is just savage, this car. It's absolutely savage. Honestly, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, I should add. And for a car that weighs near 3 tons, that is absolutely magnificent. The noise, oh my. And that view, wow. Like I say, in manual mode, it will not interfere. If you miss a gear, it'll just hold the clutch in until you decide that you want to change gear. There's not many cars that offer that. There you go, just missed a gear. This is a fast piece of machinery, honest to God. You would not expect this level of power from a BMW 7 Series, because the people that buy this car are most likely wanting to be driven and not drive it. And that is why I said before, BMW have seriously focused on the driver and the passenger whilst building this car. Everything just screams comfort, and it just screams luxury, and it's so harsh. Oh, wow. This is a fast automobile, and the views up here on Skye are just unreal. It took us around 13 hours to get up here the other day. We're just stopping off because it was mainly in awe of all the picturesque areas. Such a lovely vehicle. It's just lovely. And then obviously when sport mode gets a little bit too much for you, you can just come back down here to modes, throw it into personal. The seat relaxes, the steering lightens up, the suspension lifts back up, and everything feels soft and hunky-dory again. What a machine, honestly. Those waves are huge. I don't think there's anything better than taking a car on a road trip, on some picturesque views, up on the Isle of Skye, and just enjoying it and taking in the scenery. I've wanted to come to the Isle of Skye for years, and I've never done it. And when BMW got in touch with Men and Motors and said, we can give you the M7 for a week, I thought, what better time to do it other than now? You really would think I was in Norway. It does not look like the UK. And if anybody's ever looked at coming to the Isle of Skye, I urge you to do it. Get yourself in a nice car, get yourself on these roads, take your time, be safe, of course, and just enjoy it. Because memories like this, with cars like this, are few and far between. And the M7 is quite special to me. What a car. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. But in the meantime, click up here to see what my friend Jim's been up to, and click down here to see some true old style Men and Motors footage. But for now, I'll see you all very soon, because it's freezing and I'm going to get back in that car. Goodbye.